Coach snaps and shoot, a shocking, unexpected ending. It's rare that a gunshot victim has the wherewithal to pick up the phone and dial emergency services for help. Such an event inevitably raises questions. How does a celebrated athlete in the international sports arena find themselves embroiled in a life-threatening situation? Today, I'll unfold a tale that may initially seem implausible. However, as is often the case, the reality is far more complex. Could it be that relentless pressure and a lingering sense of peril could drive someone to their breaking point? Let's delve into this story and trace the roots of a relationship that spiraled from ordinary to disastrous. Michael Barisoni, at 58, once moved in circles with champions and had a life filled with accolades. Yet, by the spring of 2022, he was navigating a very different world. A courtroom in Morristown, New Jersey, where he felt utterly defeated. The once poised equestrian now appeared as a mere shadow of his former self, marking a stark and public decline from grace in the competitive equestrian sphere. But what led this esteemed champion to stand trial? The turning point came in August 2019 when gunfire disrupted the peace at a horse farm in Long Valley, New Jersey. Michael Barisoni, known for his calm demeanor, was the last person anyone could picture as the shooter. An Olympic equestrian, Barisoni was revered as one of the top trainers globally. His credentials were impressive. He had coached fellow Olympians and represented Team USA in the 2008 Beijing Olympic. Beyond his own competitive successes, Barisoni was pivotal in developing novice riders who later shone in elite tournaments. His reputation made him a sought-after mentor in the dressage and broader equestrian community, drawing many aspiring athletes to his training facilities. Barisoni owned two exquisite horse farms, one just outside Palm Beach and another in a prestigious area of New Jersey, which he called Hawthorne Hill. This 53-acre haven was an equestrian's dream, boasting lush, expansive pastures, a spacious open riding arena, and a grand indoor ring. It was a magnet for equestrians of all skill levels, from amateurs to seasoned professionals. Laura Osborne and Chelsea Westra, along with their horses, were under the tutelage of Michael Barisoni. They viewed him as a strict and disciplined coach who maintained tight control over everything. Living and working at the stables allowed Laura and Chelsea to care for the horses day and night, a demanding task that they undertook in exchange for free riding lessons from the Olympian. A pivotal encounter occurred a year before the tragic incident at Barisoni's Florida horse farm. There, 37-year-old Lauren Kanarick, aspiring to become a dressage champion, approached him. Their mutual passion for horses drew their paths together, marking the beginning of a relationship that would drastically alter both their futures. From as young as 3, Lauren was captivated by horses, creatures that epitomized strength, freedom, and grace. Her childhood dreams of owning a pony evolved into ambitions of competing in the equestrian world. Upon high school graduation, her father, Jonathan Kanarick, gifted her first horse, fueling her pursuit of these aspirations. By the time Lauren began winning amateur competitions, Michael Barisoni was already a celebrated figure in dressage. She admired his performances, enchanted by the harmony and precision of his routine. Eager to master the graceful balletic movements of dressage, under Michael's guidance, Lauren seized the opportunity when he invited her to train at his New Jersey riding club after the event. Recognized universally as an Olympic champion and a luminary in the field, training under Michael was an opportunity too valuable to pass up. Lauren had been scouting for the best mentor, and Barisoni's riding club stood out as an exceptional choice. The terms of their agreement were unique. Lauren moved into an apartment on his lavish white farmhouse property at Hawthorne Hill, paying $5,000 monthly for lessons, boarding her horses, and her accommodation. Michael Barisoni shared his residence with assistant trainers Justin Harden and Mary Haskins Gray. Mary, a distinguished Grand Prix rider and divorced mother of 2, was also a close friend of Michael's. Initially, Lauren felt optimistic about her training. The childhood dreamer who once wished for a pony was now under the guidance of a dressage master. The rapport between the trainers and Lauren was initially positive. She felt fulfilled, often sharing photos on Facebook of her time with Michael, expressing contentment with her progress. However, as time passed, Michael observed that Lauren's needs were more demanding than those of his typical students. Lauren expressed dissatisfaction with what she perceived as insufficient training from both Michael's assistants and Michael himself, a sentiment not echoed by other students. Despite these challenges, Michael was reluctant to discontinue her training, opting instead to personally conduct more sessions in an effort to placate her. The financial benefits he gained from her hefty monthly fees were also a significant consideration. By the summer of 2019, stable workers Laura Osborne and Chelsea Westra noted a resurgence of tensions between Michael and Lauren, marked by serious misunderstandings over her expectations and the level of attention she received. With his packed schedule, Michael found it impractical to dedicate all his time to one student and delegated many of his responsibilities to his assistants, Justin and Mary. Lauren, however, insisted on receiving training exclusively from Michael, not from his assistants. This expectation raised questions. Was it explicitly stated in their agreement that Lauren would only be trained by Michael, or was this an assumption she had made herself? Michael's farm operated with certain standards. Training there meant sessions could be conducted by any of the skilled trainers, not exclusively by Michael. This policy was standard practice at the farm, applied equally to all who trained there. In any sports club or facility, the head trainer is supported by a cadre of trainers and assistants, often former students themselves, to ensure continuity and comprehensive training. However, this standard setup was not satisfactory for Lauren, who grew increasingly agitated when she did not receive Michael's undivided attention. She even perceived Mary Gray as a competitor. The atmosphere at the farm grew progressively tense, hinting at an impending crisis. The relationship between Lauren and Mary became notably strained as Lauren resented the time Michael spent with Mary, viewing her as an obstacle to achieving her own aspirations of being the best. The question arose, were these tensions merely a rivalry for the attention of one of the world's top trainers, or was there more at stake? The tranquility of Hawthorne Hill was hanging by a thread, evolving into a palpable Cold War scenario. On July 31, 2019, an overwhelmed Michael Barrisone dialed 911, exclaiming, "There's a war going on here and something needs to be done. I can't take these people anymore. I need them gone. Help!" By that summer, the mutual trust had completely eroded, with social media exacerbating the conflicts, making the disputes between Michael, Lauren, and Mary publicly known. Lauren Kanarek felt deeply wronged and unwilling to endure what she perceived as unfair treatment. She vented her frustrations on Facebook, crafting an allegorical story set on a chessboard where Michael was depicted as a captured and dethroned king, and Mary Gray as a queen who must be sacrificed to save the kingdom. What began as an ostensibly playful narrative soon morphed into thinly veiled threats. 2 weeks following her initial post, Lauren ominously warned, "Anyone who keeps poking a sleeping beast will eventually face its wrath." As tensions continued to escalate, the relationship between the parties reached a critical breaking. Amid these troubling developments, Lauren further fueled the conflict, expressing to her father her concerns for the safety of. Lauren claimed she was losing sleep over concerns for her horses, alleging they were being mishandled, first starved, then overfed, actions she believed were compromising their health. This accusation extended the conflict with Michael beyond mere training disputes to serious concerns about the welfare of the animals on the farm, casting a shadow over Michael Barrisone's reputation. Despite the lack of evidence and the allegations remaining unproven, the public opinion split. Some stood by Michael, convinced that Lauren was trying to sabotage his life from within, while others believed and supported Lauren. The tension escalated in mid-July when farm employees uncovered several hidden recording devices in the barn, installed by Lauren and her boyfriend Rob. Lauren defended her actions by stating she recorded conversations out of fear for her safety from the farm staff. Her attacks on Michael escalated to accusations on social media, where she charged him with racism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism, claims that Michael strenuously denied, aware of the severe damage they could inflict on his career. This situation begs the question, if Michael was innocent, why didn't he pursue legal action against Lauren for defamation and sever all ties? It's possible he was overwhelmed by the turmoil and reliant on the financial contributions from Lauren's training fees. This story exemplifies how quickly reputations and careers can be tarnished in today's fast-paced world. Michael Barrisone, once resilient in the face of adversity, found himself beleaguered by the pressures exerted by Lauren. Conversely, Lauren claimed the intimidation was reciprocal. In one of her social media posts, she asserted that Michael, using his imposing stature and aggressive demeanor, had bullied her, making her fear for her safety, claims that no witness could substantiate. The escalating situation distressed Michael profoundly, affecting him both personally and publicly. Farm employees sensed the mounting tension and braced for the worst. Michael expressed that cohabiting with Lauren and her boyfriend Rob had become intolerable. Concerned for his own safety in his house, Michael ultimately decided it was time for Lauren, Rob, and their horses to leave, asking them to pack up and vacate the premises. Despite Michael's insistence, Lauren refused to leave, making it clear that she had no intention of vacating the property. At their wits' end, Michael and his assistant Mary decided to distance themselves from the escalating conflict. They left their troubled home behind and retreated to Michael's winter residence near Palm Beach, Florida. For Michael, what was once a sanctuary had transformed into a battleground where chaos reigned over the order he valued. The situation did not improve with distance. While Michael struggled with sleepless nights and lost his appetite, Lauren continued her barrage of online attacks. On the morning of August 3, 2019, at 9:35 a.m., a distressed Michael contacted the police once again, his voice tinged with desperation as he reported, "They're crazy. They're stalking us." When local authorities arrived at the farm, they dismissed the situation as merely a landlord-tenant dispute. Much to Michael's frustration, feeling cornered and seeing no end to the harassment, Michael ominously posted on Facebook, "All my actions against them have been planned for months. Everything I've done to them so far has been child's play." His words foreshadowed a darker turn in the ongoing conflict, hinting that the worst was yet to come. The tension continued to build, reaching a critical point that the farm workers reassured the social worker of the children's well-being and vouched for Michael and Mary's caregiving. However, for Michael, this visit signified a potential unraveling of his life and career, as he feared it could lead to an abuse investigation. This fear significantly exacerbated his already fragile mental state. Overwhelmed by emotion and desperate to resolve the ongoing turmoil, Michael made a decisive move. He abruptly ended his meeting with the social worker, shared a brief charged moment with Mary, asking her to stay outside, and then he headed to the safe where he kept a gun. With the firearm in hand, he drove back to the farm, determined to confront Lauren and her boyfriend, Rob Goodwin. The details of what transpired next remain murky, but the outcome was tragic. Michael confronted Lauren at the farm and, in a fit of rage, shot her twice. Hearing the gunshots, Rob quickly intervened, resulting in a physical altercation with Michael. Amidst the chaos, at 2:13 p.m., a wounded Lauren managed to call emergency services, pleading for help as she lay bleeding. When the police arrived at the scene, they arrested Michael Barrisone, charging him with 2 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. The weapon, a black and pink 9mm pistol, was recovered at the scene. Lauren, critically injured and bleeding profusely, was swiftly transported to the hospital, while Rob, who had subdued Michael, was taken into custody. Lauren's condition was dire. She underwent emergency surgery and was subsequently placed in a medically induced coma to mitigate the risk of brain damage. She remained comatose for 4 days and spent an additional 3 weeks in the intensive care unit, reliant on a ventilator for breathing. Once her condition stabilized and she was able to communicate, Lauren provided her statement to the police. According to Lauren, she had approached Michael, who was concealed behind some bushes near the back entrance of the house, unaware that he was armed. She claimed that during their conversation, Michael suddenly drew the gun and shot her twice. Rob Goodwin, who was in the vicinity, reported that Michael had also shot at him but missed. Michael's defense team contended that Lauren had driven him to an emotional breaking point, a sentiment echoed by several of his fellow Olympians. The repercussions of the incident were severe for Michael. He put his horse farm on the market and ended his relationship with Mary Gray, who testified in court that the summer of 2019 had been fraught with tension for Michael. She described him as frequently panicked and tense, but consistently loving towards her children. Child Protection Services corroborated this, finding no issues within their household. Michael Barrisone spent over 2 years in jail as the legal proceedings extended for 3 years, concluding in March 2022. His trial, a high-profile case, lasted nearly 3 weeks and was characterized by intense legal debates over who the real victim was. Michael, who had repeatedly contacted the police expressing fear of Lauren, who had endured a coma and extensive hospitalization. During her testimony, when asked if she had intended to ruin Michael Barrisone, Lauren shockingly admitted that she did. This admission became a pivotal moment in the trial, influencing Michael Barrisone's attorneys to adopt a rare defense strategy. Michael Barrisone's defense argued that at the time of the shooting, he had temporarily lost his mind, resulting in legal insanity. Barrisone himself testified that he remembered entering his office but had no recollection of grabbing the gun or firing at Lauren. His attorney, Ed Belinkus, pushed for a psychological evaluation by forensic psychiatrists to substantiate these claims. Doctors Stephen Simmering and Charles Hassan conducted extensive interviews with Michael and concluded that he had been subjected to emotional manipulation through gaslighting by Lauren Kanarek. This manipulation, they argued, distorted his perception of reality and pushed him to a mental breaking point. Gaslighting involves making someone question their sanity, memories, and perception of events, leading to severe psychological effect. Based on these findings, Michael's defense, according to police reports, Michael Beresoni had been attempting to evict Lauren Kanarek and her fiancé from the farm, a situation complicated by the couple's rental agreement, which included housing and boarding for their horses. In the days leading up to the tragic event, the farm had become the focal point of several complaints made by Lauren to local authorities concerning alleged rental violations. On the afternoon of August 7, 2019, at approximately 2:45 p.m., a confrontation erupted on the porch of the house between Beresoni, Lauren, and her fiancé. The altercation quickly escalated, resulting in Beresoni shooting Lauren twice in the chest. During the struggle, Lauren's fiancé attempted to disarm Beresoni, who then fired another shot that missed the couple but shattered a window. Beresoni's defense team successfully argued that he was suffering from a mental defect that led him to genuinely believe he was in imminent danger from Lauren and that he was incapable of understanding the consequences of his actions at the time. The defense also presented claims that Kanarek and her fiancé had provoked Beresoni by sicking their dog on him and physically attacking him. Kanarek had been actively posting derogatory remarks about Beresoni on social media, depicting the former Olympic champion as mentally unstable. While Beresoni's lawyer, Edward Belinkis, celebrated the not guilty verdict, Lauren's attorney, Bruce Nagel, vehemently criticized the decision, labeling it a miscarriage of justice and accusing Beresoni of manipulating the jury. Determined to pursue further legal action, Nagel expressed his intention to continue seeking justice, condemning the court's decision and insisting that Beresoni was criminally responsible and should be held accountable. Shortly after the verdict, Beresoni was admitted to a psychiatric facility where he would remain pending a judicial review to determine his future. This case has sparked significant debate. Being an Olympic champion does not exempt Beresoni from legal responsibilities. The preservation of property rights and the legalities of eviction highlight the complex legal framework surrounding such cases. Moreover, given that Lauren was paying $5,000 a month, her expectation to receive personal training from Beresoni rather than his assistance appears justified, adding another layer of complexity to the already contentious relationship and subsequent legal battle. Despite the complex legal outcomes and psychiatric evaluations, the stark reality is that Michael Beresoni came dangerously close to ending a life. In the aftermath, Lauren Kanarek faced a torrent of online harassment, with some of Beresoni's supporters outrageously claiming she deserved to be shot. Considering her perspective, she was a client who paid a substantial fee expecting personal training from a champion only to be delegated to assistant. While taking the dispute public on social media was controversial and she admitted to aiming to damage his career, she had a right to voice her discontent, particularly as she never directly named him in her post. This scenario presents a grim picture. A grown man, overwhelmed by his emotions, resorted to violence in an attempt to solve a conflict. It raises a fundamental question. Did Lauren pose a real threat to his life? The evidence suggests she did not intend to harm him. Typically, someone in a stable emotional state would address such a service dispute through legal means or by terminating the contract, not by escalating to violence. Consider a parallel. If you complained about service at a restaurant and the owner responded by attempting to shoot you, it would be seen as ludicrous. This situation underscores broader societal issues, including the rush to judgment and the potential for perceived threats to escalate conflicts dramatically. Fast forward to November 2023, Michael Beresoni was released and continues to undergo psychological treatment. He has since entered into a relationship with Laura Osborne, a former employee at his farm. Meanwhile, Lauren, after enduring numerous surgeries and a lengthy recovery, has made a return to horseback riding. This incident peeled back the layers of a seemingly perfect life. Michael Beresoni, an Olympic champion and respected figure, found himself embroiled in a scandal that flipped his world upside down. Lauren Kanarek, his student, played a significant role in the escalation of events, but it begs the question, was Michael a victim of manipulation, or did he simply lose control of his emotions, leading to irreversible action? Where does the line between truth and fiction lie? Between an actual threat and one perceived? How far should one go to protect their reputation or their life? And crucially, who is the real aggressor in this story? Is it the person who used words as their weapon, or the one who resorted to pulling the trigger? It's important to remember that at the heart of such stories are real people grappling with their emotions, fears, and inner demons. This case illustrates how unresolved conflicts can spiral into catastrophic outcomes, where a single action can trigger a devastating chain of events. What are your thoughts? Was Michael Barrisone justified in his actions, defending himself against perceived threats? Or were his actions an extreme and unwarranted reaction to the pressures he faced? While both parties may share some blame for the escalation, it remains clear no one has the right to endanger another person's life.